Hello everybody, welcome to Eternal Brews. My name is Pocho, and today we are going to be brewing a little bit with Wyatt, the Junk Collector, the new promo card from Fall of Argenport that is the first one released in the set. I'm expecting to see a Vara promo card eventually, but yeah, in the meantime, we're pretty excited about playing around with Wyatt and having a little bit of fun. So for those of you who aren't familiar with the card, Wyatt is a 2/2 quick draw. When he hits the enemy player, you discard a card to draw the top card of their deck, so you pilfer by discarding a card. It's not optional, so keep that in mind because you do actually have to discard something to get whatever it is that's on top of their deck, and about 1/3 of the time that's going to be a power. So most of the time Wyatt is fixing your power a little bit, but sometimes he's also getting you cool things out of your opponent's deck. After every 3 hits, Wyatt creates and draws a Smuggler's Sash. This is not an ultimate. He can continue to do that as many times as you like, although realistically in a game is going to get 1 Smuggler's Sash per turn. Mostly what's cool about Wyatt is that he's a good 2/2 gunslinger with quick draw, and that is just good enough that we're really happy to play him in weapon-based gunslinger decks because he's very good with the stash. Like, the stash is really useful. His attack gives him like a little bit of evasion, so he's really reasonable in like good synergy stuff. Wyatt doesn't win the game on his own, but Wyatt has enough cool synergies that he's really solid in decks that can support him, mainly Stonescar Gunslingers, which is where we're going to be playing him first as we experiment a little bit and see what we can do with Wyatt. So here we go, we got the Wyatt Earp, straight up gunslinger Wyatt deck, and we're going to be playing around with this to have a little bit of fun. You can play a 1-drop gunslinger in this list. I tried it out a little bit, but I'm currently playing just a big pile of 2-drops to make sure that I have lots of aggressive sort of early plays. And so let's go ahead and go through the list. First off, we have Argenport Instigator, the 3/3 that when a unit dies deals 1 damage to its owner. Always fancy and aggressive and pretty well statted. This card is really good with all of the gunslinger attachments that we're going to be running. Blazing Renegade is a 2/1 charge. This one is, I think, a little bit undervalued as far as gunslingers go. Like, it is a fairly aggressive unit for most aggressive gunslinger decks. We play this in Eternal Basics because it tends to actually get across for the damage that we want most of the time. So I really like this card as like a sort of pseudo burn card that gives you a little bit of extra reach and a little bit of extra surprise damage in situations where you would not otherwise be able to. It's the weakest of the 2-drops in the deck, but it's still pretty strong. Rakano Outlaw, 2/2 quick draw Warcry. Card is the gold standard of 2-drops. It's really powerful, and as far as things go, like, this is definitely one of your best choices, and it's also just a really solid gunslinger. Wyatt Junk Collector, matching the gold standard of 2-drops quite well, and we're gonna see if that helps us out a little bit, but in general I have found it to be pretty effective. Champion of Chaos, of course, an extremely powerful 3-drop with triple fire, +1 strength and overwhelm, triple shadow, +1 strength and deadly. Overwhelm and deadly work together, so if you deal 1 damage to it'll deal 1 damage to every blocking unit, and all of the excess will go to other things, which is just good stuff. We have Ixtun Merchant, who is making a market for us and is just solid 3/3 overwhelm. Ixtun Merchant is not a gunslinger. All of the merchants do not have subtypes, but this is the only non-gunslinger unit in our deck, and the market tends to be pretty helpful, so we're quite happy to have that here. Finally, we use Bandit Queen at the top end. You can also use the Vicious Highwayman if you want to slow the curve down a little bit. Like, basically this is all about where you want your curve to be. So if you want to go aggressive, you run more 1-drops with Oni Ronins and the Lonely Drifter. I think he's actually just called Drifter. And if you want to be more defensive and more like value oriented, you run Bandit Queen and Vicious Highwayman, and you run a few more 5 and 6 drops like Stonescar Maul or other things like that. But that's the unit base. The attachment base is pretty gunslinger heavy and also focused on basically making sure that we can make the best use of quick draw units. Hideout Pistol, played on a gunslinger, kills an enemy unit with less strength than the wielder. This is, of course, one of the most powerful cards that we can pick up in the deck because all of our units are gunslingers, and it pushes damage in a really serious way on quick draw units. We love Hideout Pistol. Like, this is exactly perfect for the deck. Ornate Katana draws a card, also gives a big strength boost, really good for Wyatt, really good for Rakano Outlaw, pretty okay on any overwhelm unit or any unit that we're going to give quick draw later on. Jawbone Greatsword is my one of legendary. I'm not running a full 4 set of this yet because I don't have them, but I actually think this card is really quite reasonable. The tribute ability is not really what you're looking for. You're not trying to tribute this card as often as you are just trying to clear a blocker or clear like something big, but this kills a lot of Aegis units that you would not otherwise be able to kill. It's really aggressive and nasty, and if you get the tribute, then you get some late game presence that you're really, really happy with. I'd probably run this even over Stonescar Maul in a lot of situations because it gives us just a really nice aggressive thing to do it for that removes some very good mid-range threats. So I like this card a lot. Hotbarrel Revolver, a 3/3 that deals 3 damage to a random enemy, but of course you choose the enemy instead because you're going to be playing it on Gunslingers. Really, really cool card. Like, this card is a 2 of at the moment because we want the curve to be fairly low, but I've played it as far as 4 ofs, and it's usually always just a big bomb in the deck if we can actually get up to the power that we need to play it. So Hotbarrel Revolver, quite worth it. Stonescar Maul, 6/3 for 6 with Overwhelm. This is sort of our big finisher. This is a good burn spell. It behaves well with Smuggler Stash, so it's really, really nice there. And yeah, we like this card quite a bit. I would also consider Charchain Flails in this list if you want to do that. Sabotage to keep Wyatt and all of our quick draw guys nice and healthy, help out against hailstorms, because we really need help against hailstorms in this deck. We don't want to get hailstormed ever. And yeah, the more that we can keep those types of cards out of our opponent's hand, the better our Gunslinger strategy is going to be. So nice little filler spell. Torch, of course, clears blockers, does all of the useful stuff. We're super happy to have that in there. And Honor the Ancestors draws weapons from our void and plays them if we get the tribute. A lot of times this can be used on 5 just to play a Hideout pistol a second time and functions as a removal spell. If you actually get the tribute, then you can tribute a Jawbone Greatsword or any other like nasty relic weapon. You can tribute a good old pile of things and get a lot of benefit out of Honor the Ancestors. We keep this as a 2 of in the deck, but overall pretty reasonable. Power-wise, we are running the Waystone Crest setup with banners and common causes, and we're just basically going for all of the like pretty standard stuff. We want to do Cabal standard, Granite Waystone, Shugo standard at 4 of, and we're trying to get mostly undepleted power in the form of banners and sigils, and a little bit less of like sort of the looking for just straight influence. Now we aren't running seats here, which makes it a little hard to get some of our triple influence requirements, but it's not very difficult, so we generally like this particular power base pretty well. I think the power base could use a little bit of tweaking, so if you're really looking to up your win rate, take a look at the power base and see if there's anything you can do with it that you like a little bit better, because I think this is probably one of the places where the deck can probably use the most improvement. Market-wise, we run a single banner, of course, because we want to have power and influence in our accessible areas with the Ixtun Merchant. Boar is really, really good for destroying a bunch of permafrosts or getting rid of a fairly aggressive temporal distortion deck or just doing any number of kind of ridiculous things. Like, we really like Boar for clearing things out. If your opponent's playing slow and dirtily, play Factory Quota. This card works really well because we're playing a lot of Gunslingers. It stops all lifesteal and life gain effects, and the damage over time will generally kill your opponent really, really quickly. I found this has been one of the most common things that I pull off of Ixtun Merchant when I feel the meta is slowing down. Stonescar Maul gets us like just a really good way to finish off our opponent. Smuggler Stash, it's just nice to have this card in here. I actually could replace this with some other card, and I think it might actually get replaced by a Hotbarrel Revolver in the near future, since we're currently only running 2 of them. So we might actually just go for one more Hotbarrel Revolver there. But that's the basics of the deck. So yeah, this is really, really aggressive Gunslingers. It's pretty straightforward. Most of what we're doing is just trying to make good decisions in order to best press forward and do the most damage possible. We're trying to kill our opponent very quickly. This is like basics fire strategy. We are just really being aggressive and being as offensive as possible with our weapons and with our units. And we get as much damage in as possible, we get more damage in, and then we just finish things off with a blast. So that's basically how it goes, and let's go ahead and play a couple rounds and show you how it works. Alright, here we are up against Dude Broham, and we got our Wyatt avatar, and we also have just earned our level 70 fire emote, so I'll probably be giving a little bit of those cheers as things go on. So as far as Wyatt goes, I don't really represent as an old man most of the time, but he does have an emote, the special emote, that just kind of matches a large portion of our more silly brews. This is not one of the silly brews, but nonetheless, the emote is pretty appropriate. So yeah, we're going to be playing out our Argenport Instigator and getting to business. We are super ready to go aggro on our opponent. We have Champion of Chaos, we have 2 Instigators. I've got Blazing Renegade with Katana as a 4-drop, which is a really good way to just push a bunch of damage across as well. or maybe force my opponent to actually get rid of Sanctuary Priest. My opponent's playing Life Force, so that might be something that we have to worry about a little bit. The main thing that I gotta worry about here especially is if my opponent is running I Am the Abductor. I gotta be very careful not to run anything into I Am the Abductor that's gonna lose me card advantage in a really bad way. But right now, we're looking like we're sitting pretty, so let's play the Argenport Instigator. I'm gonna swing for 3. That's going to deal 2 damage to my opponent when he blocks with Karend and Merchant, so yeah, not too bad for a little bit of pressure. I, of course, take that damage as well, but, you know, like, the point here is to get really, really aggressive, so we're pretty happy with that result. Lunar Magus is, yeah, that's a pretty rough one for me. Like, we certainly want that card dead, so I think what I need to do here is either, Shugo Tactic. I'm pretty tempted by Shugo Tactic since that gives me the 5th power. I think ideally what we want to do here is Katana up. And then just go to town. Yeah, this feels pretty good, because now I got Hotbarrel Revolver, I've got Champion of Chaos, I've got, yeah, pretty decent amount of stuff going on. And yeah, looks like we actually get the hit, which means he doesn't gain the life. I get a Torch Sanctuary Priest out, which gets rid of another Life Force activator, and now I can get a little bit of aggressive with Champion of Chaos into Blazing Renegade. 5/3 plus a 2/1 charge. That feels pretty good. Aurelian Merchant, that's gonna slow me down a little bit. I can't play Blazing Renegade as a charger anymore. It might still be a card that we use for Hotbarrel Revolver, so we'll probably put it down, but I'm a little concerned. Whatever she just got has Echo and is in time, which means it's either Water of Life, which seems very likely, or it's
always bring a knife to a gunfight.
Find the Way. I'd be okay with Find the Way. Water of Life is obnoxious. Could be pretty bad if my opponent gets a Katya out this turn, or a Katra out this turn. Like, I think we can still live through that because we've got Hotbarrel Revolver, but we'll see.
You made it personal.
Okay. So the attack here allows me to Shugo Tactic, which I think is definitely where we want to be. That kills the Aurelian Merchant and slows my opponent down a bit. And then I get to play Champion of Chaos, which gets me the aggressive sort of route back. My opponent's still playing a deck that's fairly counter to our sort of life, our sort of aggressive strategy, because there's so much life gain in here and so much defensive stuff. So he's pretty likely to stay ahead of me for a little bit, but overall we're doing okay. Ixtun Merchant can exchange Hotbarrel Revolver for something. I think I just want to play a Hotbarrel Revolver and deal 3 damage to his face, because that allows me to swing in for 5, and that's just 8 damage straight up. Feels pretty good, better than even a Stonescar Maul. I want to save Ixtun Merchant for like a Maul if I can, because that would be really ideal. And also if we're using Hotbarrel Revolver, we can get really, really aggressive with our opponent, which is ideal. Dark Return there, gets him back, I'm guessing Lunar Magus. That'll be a good defender as a 4/5. My Hotbarrel Revolver will deal 3 to his face, and then we can attack in for 8, which will probably force the block. Yep, there's the Lunar Magus. And he's going to play it as well. Shugo Tactic is actually great here, because it means that I can play Champion of Chaos and still attack in with this. I'm pretty happy with that trade, and I'm also pretty happy with the, you know, potential of, yeah, just Shugo Tactic is a really solid card here. We really like that that happened. Go ahead and play our Champion of Chaos. We don't need anything off of the Merchant right now, so we're not going to use the Merchant, but we'll trade a power for it at some point, because that will get us the aggression that we need. But yeah, now my opponent's looking really, really low on options, and we now have 2 units down. Shadow has a lot more like single target removal than double target removal, so I think we're feeling pretty happy about this result. Hotbarrel Revolver will probably kill Cult Aspirant, even with Ancient Bubble, buffing him up and getting him a little bit extra health. And my opponent did pick a Find the Way and not a Water of Life, so he's just looking for power. That means he's way too slow. We can Bandit Queen to win, but it's better to use Hotbarrel Revolver here, because Deadly and Overwhelm, yeah, good stuff. 2 damage through, plus 8, plus 5. That's quite lethal, and we beat out a deck that is actually pretty defensive and life-gaining, which very, very happy with. One thing that I could have done if I had gone into my market was use Ixtun Merchant to pick up a factory quota, which would have stopped Life Force pretty dead in its tracks. But overall, there just didn't seem a lot of reason to do that since we were still pressing the aggression. So yeah, feel pretty good about that result. Alright, we're up against Red Briar. I've got Stonescar Banner, Shugo Standard, and yeah, this looks okay to start with. There's not a undepleted power, so I'm a little bit worried about that, but I do have the early torch. I kind of think this is keepable. It's a little bit on the rough side just because like we're really looking for undepleted power here, but we go second, so we got a decent chance of finding that undepleted power, and that is really ideal. Okay. So we'll play Stonescar Banner here because we really need the shadow, and then we play Rakano Outlaw, and then we will have torch access, which is good stuff. Alright, I can trade one of my Shugo standards out for something for the Ixtun Merchant, which is really, really good. We'll see exactly what that ends up being. I think I'm fine taking 4 here since I've got a torch available. Common Cause, I don't have a Gunslinger here, so Common Cause doesn't play for Shadow. I think what we're going to do here is play a Fire, just so that we have the Fire, and then we will probably just attack for 2. I might actually roll the dice on the Sensori Brigand at this point. Like, it's possible that that card is really, really bad for us, but I don't think it's that bad until he gets up to 5. So I'm going to go ahead and trade out the Shugo Standard here. And we're going to pick something else up. Boar would be an option. Stonescar Banner's not bad. That is extra power. Stonescar Maul is the most effective in the, like, sort of long run. Overall, like, there's not really a lot of market cards that we super need. I think it's probably best to either pick up Stonescar Banner to get undepleted power for upcoming turns, or to pick up Stonescar Maul to get something late game that helps us out against the Skycrag stuff, which I think is probably where we're going to go. So I got this 3-3, and we're going to see if that's good enough. Genev Merchant swinging down, probably getting a Permafrost. That means we're going to have to torch this 2-2, but we're relatively happy with that. That's not a big deal. And it looks like he didn't even pick up the necessary materials, so yeah, we feel pretty good about this. I'll go ahead and play the... I'm going to play the Shugo Standard here, since going up to 5 and then having to use the Standard is probably not where I want to be. Yep, we get our swing, and we're probably going to get Permafrosted here, and then we'll have to torch the 2-2. Okay, Changey Stick makes a 3-3. Gifted Battle gives it Berserk, and we torch it out of the sky and get a 3-for-1 advantage, which is the whole reason why we held out for so long against the Sensori Brigand. So now I feel really good about our chances. Cabal Tactic is a pretty good pickup, especially since we've already got our 6th power, so yeah, that seems awesome. Bandit Queen here.
End of the road,
and
friend.
We're pushing a ton of damage. We've got double Stonescar Mauls, I've got the Cabal Tactics. Like, I am in just an amazingly strong position here. I would find it really hard to lose from this position. Sensori Brigand helps with that a little bit. My opponent is still attacking me directly, so let's go ahead and use the smaller Maul, since the double damage does apply to our weapon, so we gotta actually kill this thing. And then that's 5 damage. And other Stonescar Maul can probably pick up something else. I think we'll probably get pretty lucky with that. Oh, the word is Thunderbird, apparently. But we have the perfect answer to that, and it's going to be 5 damage over the face, so good stuff. Stonescar Maul finishes it. Alright, here we are up against Sideo. Argenport Instigator is one of our openers, but I do need a little bit more shadow for that. I'm still feeling pretty good about that because I have Blazing Renegade and I have Torch. So I can Crest of Chaos, I can Blazing Renegade, and then I can Stonescar Banner for the Instigator, which is basically where I want to be. Champion of Chaos feels pretty good with the amount of influence we've got going on. I can actually play that instead of Instigator, which is really nice. And yeah, we're feeling pretty good about our aggressiveness right now. Definitely where we want to be. My opponent is playing Temple Tactics, so they're probably playing a fairly slow mid-rangey deck. If we can just get over the top of them, that's all we really need to do. So a little fire here. Blazing Renegade. And swinging for 2. Stonescar Banner will play and allow us to use Champion of Chaos, or we can Torch and use Instigator. Either one could be good. Looks like it's going to be Torch Instigator. Or rather, Instigator Torch, since we want that extra point of damage. Then we attack for 2, and start messing them up. Good stuff. No Instigator shall stand in our way. Common Cause, I need a Gunslinger for this to do the most amount of damage, but I think we're relatively happy with that. Oh yeah, there we go. Shadow. So now I can either play Bandit Queen, which would be really decent amount of damage, or I can play Champion of Chaos, which is also a really decent amount of damage. Chaos is generally the way to lead. We want to play Bandit Queen last, unless there's a really, really good reason to do it that way. So there's the Champion of Chaos. Ixtun Merchant can now exchange power for other cards, since we don't really need to get too aggressive here. Shugo Standard is amazing, and I'm pretty happy with it. The question now is, do we want to throw something away in addition to attacking with all of our stuff? And I think the answer is yes.
End of the road, friend.
I will hold on to Shugo Standard because Shugo Standard can probably push the lethal that I need. This is like 4 damage lost plus 7 plus 6 dealt. So we put him down to about 3. And now he's got to get really defensive against the Champion of Chaos, which is not easy, because Champion of Chaos pushes to forward 4 as long as he doesn't get silenced. So unless there is a really good answer to Champion of Chaos, and there isn't, we win this round pretty handily. All I got to do is tilt with Champion of Chaos and I win. Sabo here. Might as well throw out anything that might actually be a trick. And then, yeah, just attack for 5 for lethal. We could tilt with the rest. There's not really any reason to, but I'm just trying to think if there's anything. Yeah, I think we just tilt for 5. So even with the double block, that's lethal. It's actually 5 damage, even with the double block. So there's no way to stop it. And Sadeo goes down for the count. Good old Stonescar Gunslingers. This is very reminiscent of the Stonescar Maulers deck that we designed way, way back early on. Like kind of tournament legal stuff. I think with a little bit of tweaking, we can get this up to a pretty good grind deck. And that'll be a lot of fun to play with. There we go. The lethal. It's good, good stuff. Alright, so thank you guys so much for watching. This is a slightly different variant of the list using Thieves' Pick to push Wyatt a bit more. Basically, the thing about Wyatt is that if he hits his opponent, then he gets to usually discard a unit to create good tributes. So we're looking for some interesting tribute options, including, of course, Jawbone Greatsword, which we'd like to have in larger numbers in this deck, and Jack the Lone Gun at the very, very top, which is really, really excellent tribute if you can get it rolling. So yeah, we're just trying to get like some Thieves' Pick unblockability across so that Jack and Wyatt can infiltrate and get us the actual win. You know, we'll see if that ends up being any good, but just a little bit of a variant for you guys since we have more Wyatt brews coming, and we're going to be fiddling around with them as things go on. I'm going to be putting up some actual Eternal card breakdowns for Fall of Argenport this week. I'm also working on Eternal Basics number 4, which hopefully will be done by the end of the week, and we'll have that up. So pretty excited about it, looking forward to it, and I will see you guys next time. Feel free to like or subscribe if you like the video, and have a really, really good night. Cheers, everyone.